Greetings! Welcome to my Mila guide tutorial. I'm Force of Nature, representing top tier tips, and I welcome you to your prime spot for tips and tricks to help you level up at Dead or Alive 5. Alright guys, we're going to be looking at Dead or Alive's resident MMA fighter, Mila. Alright, so I'll just say right now that more or less this is essentially the closest we have to a boxing character, but some in Team Ninja thought, but how will she kick? So, and basically they're thinking that, yeah, I mean, maybe having someone that only punches probably is not the best idea. So, hybrid character. She's basically a striker. She's like a cross between a kickboxer and a bit of a grappler. Kind of like a jiu-jitsu with a little bit of like a wrestling mixed in. So, yeah, I mean, she's actually a pretty interesting character. I find that she has quite a bit of a versatility to her and like all that. Alright, so just let you know right now. Alright, a good thing to note about Mila is that her back and forth movement is pretty good. Good lateral movement. However, I will give you a heads up that her free step is a little sluggish. I'll just say right now it's not really that good, so when you're kind of repositioned with her, she's not really as kind of efficient or effective at kind of just navigating the battlefield compared to like other characters. But it's still fine though. I mean, in general her movement's not really, well, I wouldn't really call it awful, but it is good to know that her movement thrives in the lateral space, just the back and forth kind of linear movement. Alright, I'll just let you know right now what Mila excels at. I mean, like I said just a little earlier, she is very well-rounded and allows you to have kind of multiple play styles. So you can kind of just do your thing with her. I'd say the good things with her is that she has really good Oki. She has pretty good pressure also, and decent poking ability. So with her, I mean, like her tool set is quite well-rounded, so you can end up finding ways to like make use of the different kind of abilities that she has. Like as I go a bit further along this, you'll probably think about in your mind some kind of like creative setups that you could probably like come up with or anything like that. All right. As for her gameplay, a big aspect of Mila's gameplay revolves around essentially either controlling your opponent on the ground. Like for instance, if you knock him down, you can end up going into like her ground mount situations, and you can get good damage if you can end up like keeping the opponent on the ground, for instance. Or another thing to also keep in mind with her is just finding ways to try and like vortex your opponent. Just to let you know right now, a vortex essentially is just putting your opponent into a form of well, it's considered a blender when you put it into a continuous series of situations where they're continuously at disadvantage and that they have to make a certain action in order to get out of the situation. Like, so essentially if you're vortexing an opponent, you're basically keeping them on the defensive constantly, so and every time they basically guess wrong to get out of the situation, they end up taking damage in some way or get put into a further disadvantageous situation. So yeah, I mean, so with Mila, the more you can kind of keep the opponent on the ground, the better. All right, so now moving along to Mila's close range game. Alright, I'll just let you know right now with Mila, she's got herself a 10-frame jab, 12-frame 6P, 14-frame 2P, and her fastest mid kicks are 14 frames. So let's give you the little show you right now. 10 jab, 12 mid punch, yeah, 18 frame high kick, and 14 frame 2P, which happens to be +1 on normal hits. I'll let you know right now that Mila, in my opinion, has probably one of the best 2Ps in the game. I mean, yeah, it's arguable if it is the all-round best, but I definitely think it's one of the better ones. I mean, probably one of the weakest aspects of it is probably that it's 14 frames and it's not like 12 or 13 frames, but for a 14 frame, pretty much like the best in the game. Like I could just show you like right now. Okay, it's a 14 frame low punch that reaches 1.77 meters. So that's pretty damn far. And because of Mila's poking speeds, having a +1 turns her jab into a 9 frame jab, 11 frame mid punch, and if you do another one, it's 13 frames. So that basically means if you end up 2Ping, you can pretty much beat out almost anyone with your follow-up with poke. As long as the opponent isn't taking an action in order to counter what you're doing. So your 2P can be pretty useful for kind of pressuring your opponent. So with Mila, you're trying to familiarize yourself with a few of her strings. The recommendation I generally tend to go through is going through her command training. As for Mila, she doesn't necessarily have a huge moveset, but it's a decent sized moveset. It's around like about I think 87 moves, which is okay. Like back in Dead or Alive 5 Vanilla, her moveset was considerably smaller, so they did expand it a little bit. So we do get quite a few kind of like creative tools to like work with and stuff like that. So, but just moving along. With Mila, her jab strings technically are, I think, fairly negative if you just do them loosely, but there are kind of like numerous follow-ups. Like you can do stuff like P6PK, which is a high punch, mid kick. You could do PP2K, so it's high, low. You can do PP1K, which actually goes into an interesting little stance where you can do like various things out of it. Like right there, you can do a takedown. You can even use it to like just create a little space. Because that right there is it's a variation of her 1H plus K. So yeah, different things like that. Another thing I also do out of the jab strings, like her PP6K, which has a cancel opportunity. So yeah, with Mila, what you'll discover when you end up exploring her moveset is she does actually have she has like quite a bit of different cancel variations. So what it is just a variation on her it's her takedown tackle. So with that, you can go into like a cancel stance that can have various options. So, but I'll show you a bit of that. It's a little later. All right, just moving along a bit now with pokes. Just continue on with the jab string. You can also do PPPK. So, generally, what you want to do if you're going to end up ending your string is try end it in a variation of her 6K. What this is a safe, it's a safe Mia strike that does give you a bit of advantage on normal hit. I don't think it allows a follow-up, but it still gives you a decent amount of advantage. I think around maybe about +11 or something around there. But the big thing about this is that it is safe on block. Or even stuff like PP6K also stuff like that is also safe on block. So you can use those things if you want to like poke at your opponent. The main recommend pokes that you're probably going to be using the most is something like just doing like P6P free cancels, jab free cancels, because there's a bunch of stuff you can like do off that, or you can do like 6PK or just 6K. So a bunch of things that you can poke with, and even poke with like your 3K, 4K. So yeah, you get a fair bit to work with. For your go-to lows, the ones you're going to be probably using the most will be your 2P, 2H plus K, and to stop tracking you can use your to stop stepping. So as your tracking low would end up being a 1P. This move used to be really good. It used to be +2 on normal hit, but now they made it -2 on normal hit because I guess they felt it was maybe a little too abusable. But -2 isn't really that bad. On counter hits, it will cause a trip stun. Like I can like show you right here what it will look like. So with a trip stun, you get a considerable amount of advantage. You can end up following up with something like a 4K. So yeah, if you can hit something like 1P on, counter hit, then it ends up becoming quite good. As for lows, yeah, I said 2P, 2H plus K. If you wanted to, you can also use your 2K because that does have follow-ups like 2K, TP, and it like keeps going. I think like a certain amount of times, about 3 or 4 times, and it has a cancel opportunity. So yeah, so you can poke with 2K because 2K in itself is negative on hit, and even 2KP is negative. So you have to make use of her string delays if you are going to use that. Because delays is how you keep your opponents from trying to take advantage of the negative frame advantage from just doing a random poke on normal hit. All right, but I'll just move along a bit now. All right, now I'm just to tell you about her crushes, high crushes and low crushes. All right, as for your go-to high crushes, again you're going to be using your 2P, your 2H plus K, your 1P. And another good one I find for starting your offense is your 1P plus K. This here will be your go-to high crushing mid. Gives you a good stun. And right there you can get off a follow-up with something like 3P or like 3PP. So her 1PP plus K is quite nice. Careful, it is I think unsafe on block, but if you're using it as a high crush, you can get in a nice little stun there on even normal hit. As for low crushes, Mila has a really nice one in her 3H plus K. Here, this one right here guarantees her mount stance for an opponent that's face down. So after you hit 3H plus K, immediately go for 2T. After this, as you can see, you can follow up with either knees. Although I will let you know the timing to actually hit it is a bit tight. I mean, if you wanted to, you could do it loose, but then the opponent could easily break it if they do the throw break on time. If you can actually try and just frame it, which is pretty difficult to do, I'll admit, then you can make it a guarantee. But if you are having a little difficulty with the time, and then just press the throw button, then you get a throw attempt, which actually still does solid damage there. Like an additional, I think it does an additional 35 damage after. About that, I think after that, so it's still solid damage for that. So as for 3HSK, I think it does have some frames where it's actually high crushing also, but I primarily recommend you just use it for a low crush. It is a really good move. In vanilla, it was like stupidly abusable, but they balance it out a bit better now. So, but it's still really a really good low crush. I love it. It's almost like a YOLO move for Mila. As for another low crush, I recommend her 9P, also known as Superman Punch. With this though, it's actually, if you can space it properly, it's a pretty nice move. It is a little on the slow side on about like 28 frames, but on block it's only like -3, so it's completely safe from punishment. Even though it jumps up and looks like you're hitting the nail in the head, it's actually a mid punch. So I think it might be hitting Ayane on the boob actually. So, but it looks like the head. But yeah, this is Mila's Superman Punch, because I guess in MMA, Superman Punch is probably what people do to hype things up. But with Mila, with her Superman Punch, you do have some options for things to do. If you just want damage, just do P 6P 6P, P 6P 6P. Other things you can end up doing off for 9P, just go for a 2P, then you get a free mount stance. With their mount stance, you have two options to go for three punch follow-ups, or you can go to safe option, just go for a throw, which is recommended for instance if you want to like just finish off an opponent. Like if you think you'll do enough damage to end up killing them, then just go for the throw, because the punches can be easily broken if you don't if you're unable to just frame them. So I mean, just a couple things to keep in mind. You can even kind of get creative sometimes with setups. But right there, instead, I just went for P6PP. Then after that, I just ended up doing a down throw. Alright, be careful that a lot of the times when you can go for a mount stance, the opponent can tech roll to avoid it. So that is something to keep in mind, but I will let you know that a lot of times with Mila, what makes her ground game quite good is that she can usually just go for a down throw, and she's actually not at disadvantage. So that is one big thing to keep in mind, that sometimes if you whiff like a 2T going for a ground, if the opponent does tech roll, you're not at disadvantage, so the opponent can't out poke you right after the tech roll that easily. Alright, in general, from a striking standpoint, Mila doesn't necessarily have a huge amount of mix-ups, but during stun though, I mean, she does have some pretty potent moves. If you do stun your opponent, an example of a potent move is like your 3P, which has a follow-up in 3PP. Let me get this right. So if you end up hitting an opponent, for instance, with 3PP, which is also the same as like P plus K, I mean, or counter hit 3PP, you can get a free 3P. And you can just go for like a little setup. So it is good to keep in mind though that off of a sit down stun, you can get a free 3P, and if 3P for instance extends or exceeds the stun threshold, you get a free launch. Another actual potent move you can do with Mila is trying to do like her 7K. Like here, right here, a fully charged 7K, which is I think around 35 frames. It gives you a free 6P plus K pretty much almost all the time. If you hit it like at tip range, I think very occasionally the 6P plus K will whiff, but under most, like during the stun game, during most instances you will be able to get a free 6P plus K. So if the opponent ends up doing something like during stun, like whiffing a hold, and you end up hitting them with like 7K, under most circumstances they'll actually be at enough stun threshold in order to get to turn your 6P plus K into a free critical burst. So yeah, if you encounter quite a bit of Milas online, they may be quite adept at doing that setup. So that is something to keep in mind, or 7K. If it gets blocked, it's I think it's especially if you do a fully charged, I think it's a +7 guard break, so you can keep up pressure. So basically all the opponent can really do against that move is try and hold it. But yeah, if you just chuck it out, it is pretty holdable, but as a kind of a mix-up like during stun, then it can be pretty good. But be careful of its slow startup speed, that if the opponent actually slow escapes, then they can probably just block it, but then of course you're still at advantage. But against someone like whiffs a hold during stun, you can do really good damage once you set up the critical burst. Alright, we'll be going on to Mila's mid-range game right now. Alright, for pokes that I recommend for mid-range, for Mila, your most common one is probably going to be essentially like your 4K, which is also kind of like a keep-out poke, because Mila's hurt box doesn't really move forward much, so it's just kind of like a get-back move. And another poke you can use is her 4H plus K. This one reaches a bit further, but is a few frames slower. I think it's about 18 frames as opposed to 14 frames. This one reaches a bit further. Doesn't really give you a huge reward. It doesn't really give you much reward if you actually hit the opponent, but it's great as a round ender, and it also is also nice for making it a bit harder for the opponent to get on you. So these are her ranged pokes can kind of be like keep out tools. Another poke you can use is also like your 3K. Well, if you want a low, you can use a 2H plus K, but in general, you're going to get quite a bit of mileage out of those. You get quite a bit of mileage out of those pokes. As for 4K, it does have a takedown transition. Oh, whoa, where'd it pull it? So I mean, there are different options out of the mount stance. So yeah, I mean, that's just something to keep in mind if you don't want to just do just that. You do have the ability to go for some well, takedown mix-ups. I showed it a bit earlier. You can use 1 H plus K and press the guard button, and you can create a little space. Not really sure how much usage you're going to get out of it, but it is a nice little option to get a little back feint, and you can go for... You can do like a little back feint and go for like a tackle feint. Alright, so at long range, for Mila, for poking, yeah, you're mostly going to be using 4 H plus K if you're focusing on keep out. For get-in moves, what I recommend is her 6-6K and her 6-6P. For 6-6, both of them are 18 frame moves. Her 6-6K is it's a +3 guard break on block. It leaves Mila back turn, but you can still do. You could still end up like doing pokes like her jab. 6B, and you can like do her. You can end up doing her jab on block, and I mean, yeah, it's just a typical like +3. It's just typical +3 frame advantage. So essentially, your general pokes will generally beat out most things that your opponent will do. I mean, so Mila's fast enough that she doesn't have to worry about not being able to beat out the opponent. So, but because it's only +3, it's kind of a mind game from. It's kind of a mind game from both sides. But yeah, I actually do end up explaining that in another tutorial. So don't worry about that. As for her 6-6P. This move is it's a +7 high. At 18 frames, I'll let you know right now that the opponent's probably not going to be reacting to that very easily. The only way how an opponent really reacts to something that's 18 frames is if they pretty much know that you're going to do that. So even though right here you have a little mix-up, you have your 18 frame mid kick guard break and your 18 frame high punch guard break. And even then, if you want to, you can use 9P to get in, but it's because it's 28 frames, it's a lot more telegraphed, so you have to be a bit careful with that one. I usually just recommend this one just for, basically just, well, you could try whiff punishing something, or mainly as like a low thrust. As for whiff punishing, with Mila, I recommend her 6P plus K. Like Mila actually has a pretty long reaching critical burst attack. There, about 1.94 meters, which is actually pretty far. You can also whiff punish with her P plus K, but it doesn't quite go as far, like only about 1.84. It's 1 frame faster, and it does give a sit down stun that gives you a free 6. It does give a sit down stun that gives a free 6P. So yeah, those are for whiff punishment. I do kind of recommend her 6P quite a bit, or even P plus K, depending on space and so. But 6P plus K is generally a relatively safer bet. Be careful, both are unsafe on block if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they are. But if you're using it as a whiff punishment, then he really shouldn't be getting block punished anyway. So yeah, I mean, have fun with those moves. Alright, so I'll just go over some tracking moves right now. With Mila, as for tracking moves, you got your 5K, you got your H plus K, which looks the same. Her K, I think, is just I think it is pretty safe on block. Yeah, it's semi-safe, -7. Her H plus K is actually really safe. Like, I think it's only like it's only -1, so It's 5 frames slower. It reaches a bit further, but with this though, a good knockdown and safe on pretty safe on block. As for other tracking moves, you got her. Well, 1P is a pretty nice tracking move. It's an instant high crush, and of course I showed you it gives you a trip stun on counter hits. So if someone's sidestepping, this will hit on counter hits. Another good decent tracking move. Even though if you're going for tracking, I recommend 1P, but you can also do 2H plus K. I mean, Mila has some other tracking moves, but the ones I showed were the ones that I generally recommend. And of course, what better ways to stop tracking than with throws? So yeah, talking about throws, let's go over them right now. For Mila, your most commonly used throw and essentially your go-to throw with her will be her 6T. With this move, you get against pretty much almost anyone, you get a free neutral K. In corners, you get a free 8 PP. Yeah, so if you can actually get someone in a corner, you can just this is when you can kind of vortex your opponent even more and just you can kind of get like a little obnoxious with things. So yeah, her 60 is her vortex throw of choice. Because of the advantage, yeah, you, like I said, you get a free K. So after it, generally what you can do is just basically kind of use your general pokes, like your jab string. So like P6P, 6PK. You can go like for a 2P, so you can go for like different things in that. But generally after this, after the K, it's like a bit of a mind game. Oh yeah, and also show you on certain stages, watch out for slopes here. The K follow-up does have a bad habit of whipping. Common thing that the opponent will be looking for, so they'll try and hold the P follow-up. So you can end up mixing up and like go for a takedown, for instance. For takedowns themselves, like basically her 6T are 21 frames, so that's actually pretty good speed for an offensive hold. Of course, if the opponent is looking for something else, they're not going to be looking out for your offensive hold. And like I said earlier, a big objective with Mila is to try and just keep your opponent grounded. Make it hard for them to get their own offense started on you. For whiffed holds, you can use her half circle forward throw. Does about 90 damage on high counter, which is perfectly respectable. Another option you can use is her quarter circle back T. Does less damage, but it puts her in her mount stance, so you can just beat down on your opponent a bit if you so desire. And as for offensive holds, I'll just let you know about them right now. I showed you her takedown quite a bit, and of course with Mila there's generally lots of transitions into them, so you do have to remember all the transitions into her takedowns. I'm actually also with Mila, she could do her takedown from her sidestep, which makes it probably, in my opinion, probably one of the best sidestep moves in the game. It's not necessarily the best. Like for instance, like Akira has a really good sidestep P plus K, but with Mila, her sidestep 6T is really good. I'll even let you know it counts as a takedown transition, so you can actually cancel it. The main way how you cancel it is you can press the throw button twice in a row. Let me just get it right now. Then you just press the various attack buttons. Out of her takedown feint, got a mid punch, low punch, mid-kick launcher, and of course, this is pretty much everyone's favorite, machine gun fist. Yeah, I mean, this is probably one of her more entertaining additions from addition to Mila, is her machine gun fist. I mean, like this right here really messes up an opponent. It's pretty much entirely like a natural combo within it. You only have two follow-up options out of it. You have a mid-punch launcher and well, you also do have a high punch out of it. Let me try again. So with that, you just press after the takedown feint, you just do a forward punch. So you get her. Well, you get her considerably high advantage guard break move. It is a high, and that is the move that opponents will look out for. And be careful that her launcher is unsafe. So a common things that you could do, and that some Mila players do, is just simply do that. And especially if you connect with the opponent, they end up just falling down in a gut stun. And you could just launch them, just do like a small juggle. Mila also does have a low offensive hold, her 3T. If you end up doing it on an opponent, it leads to her the opponent face down mount stance. So if you end up doing this, then you get the opportunity to bash your opponent's head in with your knees. So yeah, you can keep that in mind. As for another throw, just normal throw, if an opponent is crouching, you can do her 2T throw, which gives her quite a bit of frame advantage. Here, look at that. So it gives her plus 25, so you can like get a free launcher. I mean, yeah, the recommended there is 8K, but once the opponent starts to catch on to that, you'll have to end up doing like different things. But that's more or less it for throws right now. So I'll end up just going over Mila's hold game a bit. With some of Mila's holds, they allow her to give her like pretty much a guaranteed ground throw attempt. This right here is her mid punch hold. If you press 2T right away, then you can get a free mount attempt. You can get the same thing, I think, off her low kick hold. I mean, if you can get a lot of mount attempts on your opponents, then you can really keep momentum in Mila's favor. If you end up holding a mid kick, then you get a free forward mount attempt, and then you have to go for punches or just go for a throw. Oh yeah, for her low punch hold, you get a free juggle. Right here, a little recommended one is this 3 PP, then 6 PP, which does a perfectly respectable damage. Yeah, I mean, Mila doesn't have any advanced holds, but pretty much anything that allows Mila to get a free mount attempt is always very beneficial for her. So yeah, so get to mountain, people. Alright, just show you her wall game a little bit, which actually also complements her Oki game. As for wall slamming, the common things you can be wall slamming your opponent with is 66K, 66P. I recommend those two because if they get blocked, they are frame advantage, so they end up becoming pressure moves. You can also use well, if it's on counter hit, you could try P plus K, but I didn't really recommend her 6P plus K. It's a 19 frame mid punch, so you can wall slam with that. You can also wall slam with H plus K, but I generally recommend that you just wall slam with 6P as your high. All right, after a wall slam, you use PPP 6P as your juggle. After a wall slam, what you want to do is on a full wall, like right here I'm pointing out, got Ayane back to a full wall. What you want to do is do a 2K and immediately do a 2T. If I can get it a little too late there. So if you get it right away, you get a, if the opponent chooses to lie on the ground, that basically means they don't tech roll, you get a free ground throw. This right here puts pressure on the opponent because it pretty much forces them to have to get up. I mean, to tech roll to the side. If the opponent does tech roll to the side and you go for your 2T, you're actually still at frame advantage. Then you can still poke the opponent with like your jab strings or like your 6P strings. So essentially, it's going for like a 2K and a 2T is essentially like an option select for Mila at a wall. You can't do the same follow up at a half wall. I think this is a half wall over here. Alright, at a half wall, instead of going for 2K, go for 2P. The half walls, the opponent falls down approximately around one frame faster. So yeah, so I mean 2K is 15 frames and 2P is 14 frames, so you can usually go for that. And see if you get it right away, then what you do is you get the face down, mount stance, and you have to go for the knees instead. As for mountain, in general, I find the punches a lot easier to follow up with, where the knees have a really weird, the knees have a very weird time into them. Where I find it's a rhythm that you kind of have to get down. So yeah, so that is a big thing to practice with Mila. Alright, I'll just show you a critical burst juggle you can do with Mila. Oh whoa, I could have done more there, but anyway. Generally, the go-to juggle with Mila was usually her P6P, P6PP, then PPP 6P, which usually does a respectable damage. Generally, most times when you'll be going for critical bursts with Mila is usually after, if you get like a fully charged 7K on an opponent during stun, it will usually run up enough to get a free critical burst, and that's when you can go for that. That's when you can go for that combo. Although, for instance, if you end up hitting something like 3PP or PP, go like 1P plus K and 3PP. Instead of going for a critical burst, I generally recommend just go for the free. I usually recommend just going for the free 3P each time. I mean, obviously it's less damage, but I find with Mila compared to most characters, you can usually tend to focus probably a bit more around tech as opposed to like well, kind of like putting your opponent to guessing situations. So like I said, at the wall, for instance, you have that option select with ground throws. So I mean, you also have things like 3HSK, which can allow like guaranteed ground throws. So with Mila, if you can like focus around solid play with her, then you can actually probably make things like a bit easier for you. Of course, I'm not necessarily saying being predictable, but going for like taking your guarantees is usually I find with Mila it's a good way to go. But if you can combine that also with her like with her mix-up situations, and also it's more power to you. So I mean, Just like a couple things to think about. Anyways, that is it for now. I'll just tell you some things to practice with Mila. The recommended thing to practice with her is just learning the different, basically the different tackle feints. Both, of course, practicing the options, but the main thing is just there's actually like there's a lot of moves that cancel into like the tackle and all that. So yeah, I mean, take a look at those. I'll write down the different transitions down in the info section. And also another thing also that you can practice with Mila is like different, just like different like Oki like situations. I mean, if you want, you can use like her KP to knock down the opponent. In open space, it knocks them a bit far away. But if you're like in a corner, then it's oh wow, it turned anyway. Then you can end up going like for a free 2T for like a ground setup. So I mean, so that's a little way you can apply your KP. So, but yeah, but try out different things and see what you can like and see what you can come up with. Like with Mila, just craft your own playstyle. All right, so with Mila, I'd say that she is a very well-rounded character that is both suitable for beginners and advanced characters. In my opinion, I actually think she's probably one of the most complex of the beginner characters, or definitely at least one of the more complex of the beginner level characters. But trying to get down all her transitions definitely kind of moves her up into kind of like intermediate territory. But I'll also let you know that she is a highly competitive character, and she's I'd say she's probably one of the best characters in the game if you can fully utilize her tools and can just frame down her. And can just frame her different, different takedowns and like that. Alright, I'll just give you a small disclaimer right now. If I did end up saying anything in this guide that you basically didn't know of or are unsure of, be sure to check out my other guides to see if you can find any assistance to your queries. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to message me on Freestep Dodge or freestepdodge.com, on my YouTube, on my Twitch, Twitter, wherever. I mean, just find me and just and let me know what you have any questions about. Also, be sure to check out my other character guides to just get a nice little well-rounded view on different parts of the cast. I mean, let me know who your favorite character is, and I'll look into maybe taking a look at that character in the future. But anyways, this is Sports of Nature signing off. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Top Tier Tips.